Now to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, where the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, says that 14.6 million Ukrainians are in need of humanitarian assistance. This was announced by OCHA's Director of Operations and Advocacy, Edem Mosuru, who visited the frontline Ukrainian village in Maritime.
The Ukraine war is a daily reality for the lives of the everyday woman, man, child, elderly. It's a living reality for them because families are destroyed every day and separated, homes are destroyed every day, livelihoods are disrupted, livelihoods are not regained, there's loss, there's destruction, there is suffering. 14.6 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance, 40% of the Ukrainian population. We're bringing people food, we're bringing people shelter, we're bringing people, we're supporting them in health facilities. It is winter, it is -5 centigrade, it is -10, so people need winterized shelters. So we need that. We also need the psychosocial support. Here we need education facilities. I cannot believe that there is no media attention in a war that is happening in Europe. I cannot believe that the moral outrage that we all expressed globally is waning.
Former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan has been sentenced to 10 years in jail in a case which he was charged with leaking state secrets. Mr. Khan, who was ousted by his opponents as Prime Minister in 2022, is already serving a 3-year jail term after being convicted of corruption. The conviction under the Secrets Act comes just 1 week before general elections, where he was barred from standing. He has now called all charges against him politically motivated. The so-called Taifa case revolves around the alleged leaking of secret diplomatic correspondence sent by Pakistan's ambassador in Washington to Islamabad, where Mr. Khan was Prime Minister. Well, it relates to his appearance at a rally in March 2022, just 1 month before the former cricketer was ousted from power in the parliamentary vote of no confidence. Let's go to VOA Sarah Zaman in Islamabad. She joins us now for more on this discussion. Thank you very much for joining us on The World Today.
Thank you for having me.
What more can you tell us about the sentencing of Mr. Imran Khan?
So this trial started last year in August when Khan was officially charged with leaking state secrets and basically retaining and mishandling a classified piece of information, the classified diplomatic cable, also known as a cipher. And we saw that twice actually in this time, other courts actually halted the proceedings, saying that there were legal loopholes in them and that they were not very transparent. And still the proceedings twice started afresh, but yesterday the hearing lasted for roughly 13 hours. And so as journalists, we were expecting that the decision could come anytime. And this morning, the judge of that special court that had been set up under the Official Secrets Act gave his decision. It was a short order in which he sentenced both Imran Khan and his former foreign minister, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, to 10 years of rigorous imprisonment. So we're still awaiting the detailed verdict, which would help us understand exactly what were the pieces of evidence that compelled the judge to hand down this sentence. But until then, his party has already gone to the Islamabad High Court in Pakistan's capital to appeal this verdict.
But help us understand, first of all, the charges against him. How did we even get here in the first place?
That is a complicated question because a lot of things have happened in Pakistan. Imran Khan in April 2022 became the first Pakistani prime minister to be removed from power in a parliamentary vote of no confidence. But before this happened, and as steam was gathering against him, he started alleging that there was a US conspiracy to remove him from office. And he used this alleged cipher as evidence of that. He was eventually removed from office, and then later on he was also charged with corruption. And in that time, there were several other court cases also built against him. And eventually we saw that in August, the Federal Investigation Agency officially brought charges against him about mishandling this cipher. Now, it also bears mention that the National Security Council under Imran Khan had decided that the language of this alleged cipher was tantamount to interference in Pakistan's affairs, and that it was unacceptable, and that it had decided and it also went ahead with issuing a démarche to the US ambassador present in Pakistan. But later on, the next government that came of Shahbaz Sharif, the NSA under him, decided that there was no threat or no conspiracy, at least, that was evident from the cipher. And so overall, there has been this debate over whether there was a US conspiracy or not. Imran Khan himself has also gone back and forth on these claims, speaking to VOA after his ouster last year. He alleged that the conspiracy had, in fact, been hatched in Pakistan and exported to Washington, which was different from his earlier stance, and also different from the stance that he later on then decided to pursue, which was that Washington conspired against him with Pakistan's military and along with Pakistan's opposition politicians. And all these parties, Washington and Pakistani authorities, they have all denied Khan's accusations. But in the end, what we saw was that the same cipher was then used against him, and the charges were brought that he mishandled it and that he made its contents, which were classified, public.
But Mr. Khan has called all the charges against him politically motivated. How are his supporters responding to this latest development? Also, of course, Pakistanis are watching what is playing out as we speak.
Right. So his supporters agree with him. They all generally believe that all these charges are politically motivated. And what we have seen since Khan's ouster is a military-backed crackdown against him, which has also further strengthened his supporters' view that this is all politically motivated. As far as the general Pakistani population is concerned, first of all, Khan is the most popular leader in Pakistan right now, according to polls. So there is a very large number of people who believe, who trust, and who agree with what Imran Khan is saying, that the charges against him are politically motivated. Then even those who don't support him generally do agree that what's happening to him is part of the larger military-backed crackdown. And that crackdown started after May 9th of last year, when Khan was arrested for corruption, but his supporters stormed military installations to protest that arrest. And that really put Khan and his supporters and the military on a collision course, even though Khan had already for months been accusing the military of meddling in politics and conspiring with Washington to oust him from power. The events of May 9th really proved to be a turning point. And since then, we have seen that Khan's political fortunes have just been turning worse and worse. And the crackdown on his party has been just intensifying. Pakistan is just days away from election, and his party was not able to get a unified symbol. Khan was disqualified from running for office in August. Many of his top party leaders are also either in hiding, under arrest, or simply not able to run in these elections. So even general population in Pakistan feels that what's happening to Imran Khan is partially, at least, politically motivated.
All right, away from the sentence and the jail term, Sarah, the general election is just by the corner. How is the country preparing for this?
So this general election is actually happening after months of delay. This was actually supposed to happen last November, because Pakistan's constitution says that once a parliament completes its term, next government must come in within 90 days. That didn't happen. So the elections are already happening roughly at least 3 months later than when they should ideally have happened by. And beyond that, there had also been a lot of speculation about whether elections would happen or not. Now we're so close that it looks like elections will happen on time, but there has been a lot of speculation. And because of the crackdown on PTI, that gave more steam to this speculation. But right now, election activity is in full swing. Major political parties have been holding their rallies. And if you go to towns and cities across Pakistan, you will see political party posters and candidates coming and conducting their election campaign.
All right. Thank you very much. VOA Sarah Zaman speaking to us from Islamabad. Thanks a lot for your time on The World Today.
Thank you for having me.
Police have arrested 5 for the murder of 6 people in a remote area in Southern California's desert. They were alerted to the incident when a gunshot victim called 911, sending the police helicopter to the gruesome crime scene. Authorities found the bodies, all men, on January the 23rd off a highway near a town in El Mirage located in San Bernardino County. The helicopter also located a bullet-riddled SUV and a minivan about 144 kilometers northeast of Los Angeles. A new release indicates that investigators determined that the victims arranged to meet at that location for a marijuana transaction. The 5 men who have been arrested arrived at that location, and for reasons still under investigation, they shot the 6 victims. 4 of the 6 victims have been identified so far. North Korea has carried out a 3rd test on its cruise missiles in less than 1 week, firing the weapons into waters off its west coast. South Korea's military said it detected several unknown cruise missiles which were launched into the West Sea of North Korea at around 7 a.m. local time, further adding that South Korean and the U.S. intelligence agencies are already analyzing the data. North Korea is banned from testing cruise missiles on the long-standing United Nations sanctions which were imposed on its nuclear program, and it has already carried out 2 tests over the past week. On Monday this week, state media said that Kim Jong-un had guided the launch of a submarine-launched strategic missile known as the Pulsar 331 over the weekend, and just a few days after South Korea detected several cruise missiles being launched from the country's west coast. Pyongyang has forged ahead with weapons testing amid rising tensions on the peninsula as Mr. Kim modernizes the country's military, developing more sophisticated weaponry. Vietnam and the Philippines have agreed to cooperate on maritime security in South China Sea, a conduit of $3 trillion of annual shipborne trade that China claims almost in its entirety. This deal, signed under the state visit to Hanoi by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., that happened on Tuesday. It will see both countries' coast guards working together to prevent and manage incidents in the disputed waters. The South China Sea is at the center of the territorial tussles between China, the Philippines, and of course other countries. But China claims that almost the entire sea as its sovereign territory, while the Philippines, Vietnam, and others claim various islands and reefs and even the shoals there. Tensions between the Philippines, a United States ally, and China over the waters recently reached boiling point. At the end of last year, the Philippines accused China of swarming the Whitsun Reef off its coast, but China, for its own part, accused the Philippines of provocations in the second Thomas Joel waterway. Earlier this month, China held the military drills in the southern part and the South China Sea as the U.S. and the Philippines conducted their own joint exercises in the same waters. The high seas face-off are fueling fears of a wider conflict. Hong Kong's government said that it has started work on the new national security laws and intends to pass the package soon, 4 years after China imposed sweeping legislation in the wake of massive pro-democracy protests. John Lee, who is the chief executive of the semi-autonomous city, said on Tuesday that while Hong Kong looks very calm and very safe, it is still having to look out for potential sabotage and undercurrents and independent ideas that are still embedded in some people's minds. Mr. Lee has described it as the city's constitutional responsibility dating back to its 1997 handover to China from British colonial rule. But officials are announcing that the public consultation period for the new law, which will begin on Tuesday and end on February the 28th. The security law, which is mandated by Article 23 of the city's mini-constitution, will cover 5 additional offences, which are treason, insurrection, espionage, destructive activities, endangering national security, and external interference. But tighter controls for foreign political organizations linked to the city is also advocated. And it's no giving up for farmers across France as they drove their tractors in convoy in Paris for the latest large-scale protest against high production costs, EU-wide regulations and cheap imports, which many are claiming are destroying their livelihood. We see footage there showing the tractors driving slowly, blocking one of the main motorways entirely, with some vehicles were seen with banners reading "No country without farmers." According to media reports, organizers plan to carry out blockades in 8 key areas, aiming to paralyze roads into the capital in what they have described as a siege of Paris. The government has announced that 15,000 police officers had been deployed across the region. The Interior Minister calling on law enforcement to show restraint, but warning the farmers against causing any damage or interfering in critical logistics. British Columbia, which is a Canadian province, has banned tertiary institutions from admitting Nigerians and international students for the next 2 years. According to Federal Immigration Minister Mark Miller, who disclosed this in a statement, the measure aims at decreasing new students' visa issuance by 35% for the current year as the province addresses exploitative practices within the system. The Premier of the British Columbia, David Abyei, stressed the importance of addressing issues within the international education system, recognizing its pivotal role in the province's social and economic framework. Well, according to reports, in the first half of 2023, Nigerians in Canada were granted nearly 18,000 study permits, surpassing all other countries except India. At least 22 people have been killed in a suspected jihadist attack on the Niger village near the border with Mali. Reports say the Niger village that happened there. It's also not clear who is behind that attack. Local officials reported the attackers arrived in the village in the Tilaberi region on motorbikes and started shooting the people. The Niger junta is yet to comment on this, but says that such killings are common in Niger, where jihadist insurgencies have risen since the year 2015. Nearly 40 soldiers were killed just last year in separate attacks near the border with Burkina Faso. Military leaders who carried out last year's coup justified their actions, citing the poor security situation. A court in Ghana has sentenced 12 people to life imprisonment, and that's after it found them guilty of killing an army officer. 7 years after that attack, the High Court in the capital, Accra, which ruled on Monday, found the 12 guilty of counts of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and abetment of murder. They're all part of 14 suspects who were accused of lynching Major Maxwell Mahama in May 2017 in the Obuasi area. The 2 other suspects were acquitted after the court found them not guilty. The 32-year-old major was on duty in the Dakiria Obasi, located in the country's central region, when he was attacked by a mob over allegations that he was an armed robber. He was among soldiers deployed to that area to protect the local mine. The International Criminal Court, the ICC, says that there are grounds to believe that Sudan's warring military factions are committing serious crimes in the Darfur region. The ICC prosecutor, Karim Khan, told the UN Security Council that his office is collecting a very significant body of material, information and evidence indicating that Sudan's regular army and the paramilitary rapid support forces, that's the RSF, have committed genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of aggression in Darfur. The investigation by Mr. Khan's office began in July last year, shortly after fighting erupted between Sudan's army and the RSF. The Darfur region is one of the regions most impacted by the ongoing conflict, and more than 500,000 refugees have fled into Chad to escape the violence in that region. Mr. Khan has now warned that the situation in Darfur is escalating. He's asked Sudan's authorities to cooperate with the ICC's investigations.
The failure of the international community to execute the warrants that have been issued by independent judges of the ICC has invigorated the climate of impunity and the outbreak of violence that commenced in April and that continues today. And as conflicts flare up in other parts of the world, there is a real risk that many Darfuris fear that their plight, the situation in Darfur, will be the forgotten atrocity. If it does, it will be the second time the people of Darfur have been failed. Humanity at large failed, and we must not collectively allow that to happen.
Since the beginning of the conflict in April 2023, different forms of conflict-related sexual violence, including rapes, gang rapes, abductions, sexual slavery and exploitation, trafficking, sometimes used as a tactic of war, have been reported in all conflict-affected areas, in particular in Khartoum, Al Jazeera, Darfur states, and the Kordofan regions. We call upon all parties to the conflicts to immediately cease hostilities and to respect their obligations under international humanitarian law, including by refraining from targeting civilians' objects.
International law must be upheld at all times, and justice and accountability must be ensured for all violations. As the ongoing conflict in Sudan demonstrates once again, accountability for past atrocities is an essential prerequisite for peace and stability.
The UN Secretary General says that he is deeply concerned about the violence that occurred over the weekend in the Abyei administrative area, which killed at least 52 people, including a UN peacekeeper, leaving 64 others injured. According to the spokesperson, Staffan de Durik, the UN chief also condemned the attacks on the UN peacekeeping force, during which 2 peacekeepers from Ghana and Pakistan lost their lives in the line of duty. Deadly ethnic violence has been very common in that region, where 2 Twig Dinka tribal members from neighboring Warrap state were locked in a land dispute with Ngok Dinka from Abyei over the Anet area located in the Sudan and South Sudan borders.
Turning to the situation in Abyei, I have a statement, and it tells you that the Secretary General is deeply concerned by the violence that occurred over the weekend in Abyei administrative area, which resulted in the tragic death of numerous civilians and attack on the UN peacekeeping force there, during which 2 of our peacekeepers lost their lives in the line of duty. The Secretary General conveys his deepest condolences to the government and people of Ghana and Pakistan and to the families of the deceased civilians. He condemns the violence and attacks against the peacekeeping force and calls on the government of South Sudan and Sudan to swiftly investigate the attacks with the assistance of the peacekeeping force known as UNISFA, and to bring the perpetrators to justice. He reminds all parties that attacks on UN peacekeepers may constitute war crimes.
7.1 million people have been displaced in Sudan, internally displaced in Sudan, since April. 1.5 million people have fled to neighboring countries around Sudan. More than 555,000 Darfuris have fled into Chad up to December of last year alone. Judicial orders and court judgments alone cannot solve the problem. It'd be wonderful if it could. It requires the Security Council, the whole of the United Nations family, the ICC, member states, the international community writ large, to not get overwhelmed by an intractable problem, but to come up with innovative solutions in order to address the catastrophe and also to prevent the contagion of violence from spreading even wider.
The co-founder and director of Zero Carbon Charge ZCC Carbon Charge, Andres Malherbe, says that addressing the climate crisis requires a multifaceted approach, including transitioning to renewable energy sources and implementing policies to reduce carbon emissions. He also adds that the ZCC is making progress in advancing sustainable mobility with the completion of South Africa's first fully off-grid electric vehicle charging station anticipated by June this year, intending to cut 15 million tons of carbon emissions.
That is the sad part of the story, is that if you charge an electric car off the grid, you have a worse carbon footprint than if you drive a petrol car. So there's no net benefit. So the only way that you can do that is to charge electric cars with renewable energy and to generate that on site. So once we employ our network, we will make a significant difference. We will save in a 15-year period over 15 million tons of carbon CO2 equivalents, and eventually we will move our business into the trucking space, and we will save even more carbon. So transport accounts for about 12% of the emissions in South Africa, 12 to 15%. And if we can charge electric cars and trucks with renewables, we will make a significant dent into the carbon footprint of the country.
And back here in Nigeria, the Lagos State government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has commenced a fresh food fair at the newly constructed agro-produce hub at Iduro in Mushin in the area of Lagos. Speaking during the fresh food fair, the State General Manager of the Coconut Development Authority, Dr. Dapo Olakunleyin, says the initiative is to create an enabling environment and a good marketplace for farmers to sell their produce, as well as address food insecurity in Lagos.
December last year, the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, unveiled a food agro-hub sited in the Mushin area of Lagos, a place to purchase fresh food items. A month down the line, the one-stop marketplace for wet, dry and bulk purchase of food items is fully utilized by the people. And the state government has also introduced a fresh food fair at the middle-level agro-produce hub where farmers and traders can bring in their products.
Everything that is in this place is from the farmers in Lagos State, and you should be rest assured that it is organically produced and farmed here in Lagos State. Every Saturday, you can be rest assured that you're going to get all the produce you want to buy here. And we'll be having different products showcased in this place, from beans, rice, mushroom, vegetables, egg, meat, whatever you want to buy is here. And you are rest assured that you will buy it at an affordable price.
Those who have come to purchase one or two items at the Duro Food Hub share their experience.
It is really fantastic. I enjoy all the things I bought. The prices are well subsidized. I love them all. It's really nice. It's a good initiative.
The state government assures the public of quality control at the modernized marketplace.
Under this fair, if as a Lagosian you buy anything using mobile account, you get 10% discount. That is, if you buy something between 2,000 and 50,000, you get 10% discount. That is sort of empowerment to the citizens in general. What we are saying is that in terms of economy of Lagos State, we have created a living environment for our farmers to sell their produce. Eventually, it's good the fair will translate to market, where the marketers will now come in.
Every Saturday, residents of Lagos can make their way to the Food Agro Hub in Mushin to buy or order their farm fresh food items.
Tech billionaire Elon Musk claims his Neuralink company has successfully implanted one of its wireless brain chips in a human. In a post on X, which was formerly Twitter, he said a promising brain activity had been detected after the procedure and the patient is recovering very well. The company's goal is to connect human brains to computers to help tackle complex neurological conditions. In spite of the apparent success, Professor Anne of King's College London warns that there needs to be a note of caution, as true success can only be evaluated in a long term. There has been no independent verification of Mr. Musk's claims, nor has Neuralink provided any information about the procedure he says has taken place. A number of viral firms have already implanted similar devices. Among is the École Polytechnique Fédérale in Lausanne in Switzerland, which has successfully enabled a paralyzed man to walk just by thinking. And finally on the program, villagers in Wazoo are working overtime to ramp up local productions of traditional handcrafted decorations for the upcoming Chinese New Year. Factory workers are building paper machine lions and dragons head sculptures using bamboo sticks and fiber cloth, while others are painting the sculptures in bright colors and patterns. Factory manager Zhu Jiangong also explains that lion heads are an essential prop used during the New Year's lion dance, traditionally performed every night during the first 15 days of the Lunar New Year, and some locals believe the practice helps bring good luck for the next 12 months. The factory not only builds the lion heads, it also assists the local community in learning the dance itself. The Chinese New Year, also referred to as a Spring Festival or the Lunar New Year, is a 15-day festival marking the beginning of the spring season in the Chinese calendar. For this year, designed the Year of Dragon, it's been designated and called the Year of Dragon. The Spring Festival will fall on Saturday, February the 11th. And that's the world today this hour. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Owaodo. Stay safe.